there's something wicked riding into town. And it's not just another roguelike. Red Pistol is what you get when you mash up bullet hell chaos, deep buildcraft, and a gritty, supernatural western dripping with style. You play as Reed Ransom, a bounty hunter knee-deep in gunsmoke, cursed soil, and undead nightmares. The setup feels familiar at first, an old frontier plagued by dark forces. But what Red Pistol does with that premise is anything but ordinary. Right out the gate, the combat grabs you. It's fast, tight, and brutal in all the right ways. Enemies swarm from every angle, bullets fly like angry hornets, and you're constantly dodging, weaving, and trying to land your shots. If you're coming from other roguelike bullet hells, this one feels snappier. There's weight to the weapons, urgency to each encounter, and just enough randomness in the procedural maps to keep you on your toes without being frustrating. But it's not just a test of reflexes. Red Pistol demands smart choices too. At the center of it all is a skill card system that changes how you build from run to run. You'll be swapping cards, trying new synergies, and sometimes just rolling with chaos. One run might turn you into a fire-spewing menace, another into a precise crit-stacking ghost hunter. It encourages experimentation and rewards you for getting weird with your builds, which is half the fun in any roguelike worth its salt. Now, one of the standout features here is the Wanted system. It's not just a cool gimmick, it actively changes how the game plays. As you rack up kills and make noise in the world, your bounty climbs. And the higher it gets, the more dangerous the enemies that come hunting for you. It creates this rising tension, where the game isn't just throwing more enemies at you, it's throwing better ones, smarter ones. It feels like the frontier is watching, reacting, and pushing back. That ties into another smart design choice, the evolving camp. Between runs, your camp upgrades based on what you've done, what you've found, and who you've pissed off. It's not just cosmetic, it's functional. New tools, permanent buffs, new weapons, it's all tied into this hub that grows with your journey. And it helps with the pacing too, because there's always something new to unlock or tinker with, even if your last run ended in a fiery mess. But what really surprised me, and I think will surprise a lot of players, is the story. This isn't just a backdrop. Red Pistol leans into its narrative in a way most roguelikes don't. You'll meet characters that aren't just flavor text. They have arcs, motives, and secrets tied to the world. Reed himself isn't a blank slate either. His choices, his past, and his power are all tangled up in the plague sweeping the frontier. And the vampire at the heart of it all, Various Valentine, isn't your run-of-the-mill villain. There's something deeper going on, and the game teases that lore run after run. Across its 4 main regions, Redwood, Desolation Sands, Whispering Pines, and Crimson Mansion, the game shifts tone and enemy design just enough to keep each biome feeling distinct. You'll go from dusty shootouts in abandoned towns to eerie ambushes in haunted woods to straight-up gothic nightmares in crimson-lit mansions. The aesthetic work here deserves credit. It's dark without being muddy, and stylish without going over the top. Boss fights are another highlight. Names like Ironheart and Blazing Crown sound cool on paper, and the fights actually live up to them. These aren't just bullet sponges. They have phases, unique patterns, and often force you to rethink your build mid-fight. It feels like the devs wanted every boss to be memorable, and for the most part, they are. Now, if there's a word that sums up Red Pistol, it's momentum. Every part of the design, combat, progression, story, even death, feeds into this feeling of forward motion. Even when you fail, you're learning something, unlocking something, discovering a bit more about the world or your own abilities. And because the game keeps mixing up the rules slightly every run, it avoids that fatigue you sometimes get in the genre. Is it perfect? No game is. Depending on your build, some runs might feel overpowered, while others leave you scrambling. But that's part of the dance in a roguelike. What matters is that it makes you want to try again, and Red Pistol nails that loop. It's rare to see a roguelike with this much personality, a game that's not afraid to blend tight mechanics with strong world building or shootouts with story beats. If you're into games like Dead Cells, Hades, or Vampire Survivors but want something with more grit and a darker edge, this one should be on your radar. Because Red Pistol isn't just another roguelike, it's a showdown. And in this Wild West nightmare, every step, every choice, and every shot might be your last.
horror.